Hey Buns, so the Bozja Southern Front has been out for about 3 weeks now, and I have been going at it super casually, basically trying to stretch it out as long as possible, knowing that patch 5.4 is still a ways away. But in spite of that, I am already very close to max rank, and I'm running out of things to buy with my Bozjan coins from Castrum. I'm also running out of things to buy with all the other currencies that you can get in Bozja, but like I have all the mounts, I have the pets, and frankly, I'm getting a little worried about how my gameplay will change once I no longer need metal to rank up. This is a weird place for me to find myself in after only 3 weeks of the content being out, and me doing it, like I said, ultra casually. I think we all had this expectation that the Bozja Southern Front would provide some intense grinds to keep us busy until the next major patch. And that's because traditionally these intense long-term grinds are characteristic of a relic weapon, but that has not been the case for Shadowbringers so far. You don't have to go into the Southern Front at all to get the items you need for the relic. The stuff you need for the first step drop from Heavensward Fates 100% of the time, and the next step is just 6 level 60 dungeons. That's it. So you're gonna just run anti-tower 6 times and you're done. So the relic is not strictly tied to Bozja, and it's very easy to get outside of Bozja, and this has made me concerned about what participation is going to be looking like in Bozja for the long term. I'm worried about the longevity of Bozja as content, especially comparing it to Eureka. I reached out to a friend of mine, Tomoyo, who is an admin for a Discord that organizes runs of Bozja Southern Front content on my data center. Tomoyo is a person that I did a lot of Baldessian Arsenal with in Eureka back in the day, and I figured that as an organizer, they have a better idea of what participation is looking like now, 3 weeks in. Tomoyo said there's a lot of good changes compared to Eureka, but there is not really a reason, after your max rank, to go in there anymore. It's way faster to grind for a relic in the Heavensward zones than in Bozja. And that's not fair as well, since most people will grind the weapons only. It takes about 3 hours to get one weapon done in Heavensward way, and at least 9, maybe more, to get one done in Bozja. This is the main reason why the content is dying out. I loved the idea of Castrum, but the downfall of the relic ruins it for Bozja. All I can hope is they see the problems and fix them for the next zone. I asked if it might have been better for the Heavensward Fates to be a much worse way to get the relic items than from Bozja, and Tomoyo said it should have been the same difficulty or the same time frame to get a weapon done. Now, if you want my tinfoil hat theory on this, I would say that this was a deliberate move to draw tons of people out into the Heavensward Fate zones so that they could impress everybody that's in those zones on the free trial, who will feel like, oh, this world is lively and bustling, like it's bumping here out in the turning mist. And because I mean, previously those fates and those zones were fairly dead. Nobody really had much reason to go out and farm Heavensward Fates, and that's not a good look for a free trial player who's still considering buying the game. Also, the second part of the relic puts people into the level 60 dungeons, which is going to populate those dungeons and just result in a better experience for these people who are on the verge of like wondering, is it time to buy this game or not? I know that's kind of a cynical way to look at it, but it would make sense from a business perspective, even though it is worrying for Bozja as long-term content. I actually got all the stuff that I needed for my first relic in Bozja completely. Just by naturally ranking up, I was accumulating enough stuff that I needed for that first relic. But now that I'm almost fully ranked up in Bozja and I'm running out of objectives to pursue there, it would make more sense for me for future relics, for my other jobs, to get those items from the Heavensward Fates and not Bozja. And like that, it kind of makes me sad because I have really enjoyed Bozja as content, and I found it a million times more enjoyable than Eureka was at launch. Yes, part of that is because it hasn't been like the level of insane soul-crushing grind that Eureka was, but like, does it really have to be one or the other? Like, did the pendulum swing too far in the other way? Did we go from one extreme to the other? Like, maybe only your first relic should have been easy to get with Heavensward Fates outside of Bozja, but then the other ones would incentivize you to go get the stuff for them in Bozja. Like, I don't know. Or if they were just going to keep everything with relics the way that they are now, could there have been at least some long-term optional grinds for stuff like unique mounts or emotes that you couldn't get any other way. For example, in the first stage of Eureka and Nemo's, the lockboxes there had a small chance to drop a T-Rex mount, and it was not tradable, so you could not buy it on the market board. You had to do the Eureka content yourself and gather lockboxes yourself, which was a massive pain, but it made that moment of like finally opening up a lockbox and finding the T-Rex in it extra special. Like, how do they fit a T-Rex in a lockbox? I don't know. But maybe it's one of those like just add water little T-Rex. And it gave them out more status points because it said something about you and what you'd been up to in the game. Like, it's sort of a way of expressing yourself. It's like, oh, there's that guy. I'm sure he opened up a buttload of lockboxes in Eureka. But now in Bozja, the lockboxes do have a chance to drop a mount, which is the super cool flight suit mount, the Gabriel Alpha, but it's tradable. So you can just buy it on the market board for like a bit over 1 mil on my server. And I'll say about this what I said about the Unreal Shiva pony. Like, I find it weird that they keep adding new content to the game, but at the same time add ways for you to not do that content. Like, I mean, I guess it's convenient for people that don't want to do Bozja because they're too busy playing Genshin Impact, but like, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I do think also that having it tradable makes it less cool, because the best mounts, in my opinion, are the ones that make a statement about some achievement that you've done or some time that you got super lucky. Like, you look at a mount like Ramu from E8 Savage. It says, you know, I cleared E8 Savage. Or Rathalos from Great Hunt Extreme. Like, that takes some time and effort to get. Or any Beast Tribe mount even. It just takes a little effort to rank it up. And it's like when you see somebody on Demi Ozma from Baldessian Arsenal, you're like, they understand my pain. They understand the pain of Acceleration Bomb. But when you just buy a mount, I think it removes a bit of that unique identity and coolness of it. Bozja also offers Construct 14, which is a super cool robot mount that you can buy with 180, I think, Bozjan clusters, which you should farm in Bozja, or you can just buy it for 1 mil on the market board and skip the cluster farm altogether. Because, like, why incentivize players to engage in the new content you just released? I don't know why you would want to do that, but... So I mentioned, yeah, I will be soon rank 15, soon max rank, and several of my friends are already there, so it's actually already becoming harder to convince some of my friends to come along with me to the Southern Front at all. At rank 15, you no longer need medals, so rank to 15 players are not going to feel really motivated to go do skirmishes for medal that they don't need, where they could instead be farming fragments for lost actions or clusters for priority buffs, assuming that they still need coins from Castrum. And let's talk about those coins. It doesn't take that many runs of Castrum to get your armor sets. The main expensive items from coins are augmentations, which cost hundreds of coins each. They can also drop extremely rarely in Castrum, but are they worth it? Because, I mean, Castrum Lacus Littori is not hard without the augmented gear, especially if you have lost actions. If you were to get a full set of the augmented gear, you would get a 10% haste buff in there, which feels super unnecessary. It would be one thing if Castrum was like bleeding edge content and you needed every little advantage to survive, but it's not. Like, I do not feel like I'm missing out on anything by skipping the augmentations altogether. The base gear, by the way, is dyeable without the augmentation, so like maybe that would have added a little bit more value if the augmentations had made those items dyeable. Also, even if I changed my mind about that, I could just go to the market board and buy those augmentations for, I think they're like 2 million gil, something like that, depending on the piece. So again, by having the tradable option, we are removing potential players from the content. So let's say you're rank 15, you don't need metal, you've done Castrum a few times, you got all your cool armors that you want. What is going to keep you coming back to the Bozjan Southern Front? Well, it could be duels. Now, let me just say, duels are a fantastic concept. I love watching these, and seeing somebody actually succeed in a duel is awesome because everybody's standing around cheering for them, and the whole instance gets a buff to medal gain, which we might not need at max level, but still, it's a really wonderful social moment where everybody, like the person who won is the hero, and it's like It feels really good. I love the concept of duels, but getting into a duel is insanely difficult, and it's not because of skill, but actually because of RNG. If you don't step in an AoE in the spawning critical engagement, you will likely get invited to the duel. That's all you have to do, not stay in AoEs. There are no other parameters beyond that. I was sort of hoping that the selection process for picking people to be invited to these duels would take into account other factors like uptime or healing throughput or DPS, but it's literally just do not stand in the fire. This means that a lot of people can qualify who are really not prepared for the duel at all. And a friend of mine who at this point pretty much only cares about duels, that's all they have to do now in Bozja. They've had more than 30 invites to duels, and because of bad RNG, they have not been chosen for a single one, and that's incredibly frustrating, especially when the person who was selected isn't prepared and they just die instantly. I've heard of some players being invited to a duel, accepting it, and then just letting the timer run out so nobody gets to do the duel, to grief everyone, basically. I've also heard of some cases where healers will rescue people who are doing well in a duel. Like they'll see someone who doesn't have vuln stacks and no brink of death, and they will rescue them into an AoE to give either themselves or their friends a better chance at getting invited to duels. And that is obviously horrible, and it's difficult to prove to a GM when the healer can just say, oh, well, I was just trying to help, it was an accident. So I think maybe adding some sort of extra priority system for duels specifically might help, or make it harder to be picked for a duel based on more strict performance metrics. It's really sad to see good players get frustrated and give up on trying duels at all after putting in lots and lots of time and effort to spawn the duel and being well prepared with all their lost actions, like learning the fights, and getting rejected time and time again due to random chance or, some griefing from a person who will let the timer run out. It's demotivating in an area where you may have actually already run out of other things to do. By the way, the rewards for doing the duels are achievements that give you special titles. There's a title, Gabriel's Downfall, Queller of Beast, the Death of Flame. Those are all for 3 separate duels, and if you do all of those, then you'll get the title Sword of the South, which sounds kind of like a euphemism to me. It's the sword down south. One thing that will always ensure that there are at least some people in Bozja is the fact that it is insanely good for leveling. It is not uncommon to go from level 71 to 80 in a day there. So for that reason alone, it will always have some people in it. Now, this is not the final iteration of Bozja. Let's remember that. Remember that we are going to be getting a huge Baldesion Arsenal style raid accompanying the next update to Bozja after patch 5.4. So who knows what that's going to be like. As for now, though, these are my concerns, and I hope that the future additions to Bozja will inspire some more long-term play that doesn't necessarily have to feel like soul-crushing punishment, like just something fun, optional, maybe long-lasting. Like, can we have some kind of middle ground here? I would love to hear your opinions on this and what you think about the current state of Bozja. If there's anything that you think that could be improved. Have you been able to get into duels? Have you seen any griefing happening surrounding duels? Let me know in the comments section down below. If you like this video, please consider supporting the channel on Patreon or on Twitch. You can also support the channel for free by clicking the subscribe button or by sharing this video with your fellow Warriors of Darkness. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!